Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript Potty, and my buddy Rhett here. I've got her favorite kind of nut. Give it to her. She's very excited about that. I forgot what they're called. Palmetto, I don't know, but she loves those. And let's see. I think my this looks a little bit blurry up there. There we go. Cleaned off my camera. My glasses maybe a little bit. Although when I was out walking the dogs today, it did feel a little bit. Everything seemed a little blurry, so maybe my eyes just aren't working as good today as they normally do. Anyways, it is 11:21. It feels like it's like 70 degrees outside Fahrenheit here in Marietta, Georgia. It says 64. So there's that. Right, so I'm trying to remember yesterday. I know that I've been trying to sort of think about, I guess because we're at the end of the year and all that, think about like, okay, so what is it that we, need to learn and all that. I mean, because if you were to go back to like like when I first started learning to code in like the 1970s, late 70s, and that you would never, ever, ever, ever have guessed that mainframes just wouldn't be everywhere in 2025. Like, because mainframes were just so incredible and so capable and just did magical things. But it didn't work out that way. And it didn't work out that way, and I believe it didn't work out that way because, like, it just the culture of mainframes. I think mainframes was superior technology to like local computers, but just like the culture of mainframe software development was just so toxic that that it just today it's not around anymore. And then I don't think anyone would ever have believed. You could never have said, "Hey, in 2025, nobody's going to code mainframes." Like, there's going to be a lot of software development going on, but almost none of it, like less than 1%, probably less than a tenth of 1%, is mainframe technology. And I think that's a very strong possibility of the same thing happening with this sort of code. And so I do want to make sure, I want to try to help keep coding around because coding is, like, in my opinion, one of the most pleasant things you can do. So, and that's why I kind of show all the gory details, because I think that most software development videos are like idealized versions of software development. They're not real software development. And so a big part of, I think one of the most difficult parts of software development is as you're coding to then when you can't just code straight. So eventually you have to take breaks, and between breaks, how to pick back up where you left off. And so I think that is getting to be an important theme in my mind. I had thought um, that I had already committed this code, but apparently I hadn't. So it must have been my other project that I committed code on yesterday. So I do think that this is going to be video 348, and this is, let's see, issue 6 complete, I say. But maybe I didn't. Maybe when I committed yesterday, I didn't have everything like staged. I do that sometimes. I'll think that I committed stuff, but I hadn't staged it. I think all this looks good so far. It even looks like, yeah, it even looks like I checked, yeah, my everything. So let's see what I have the DOS key. If I go back, so let's kind of step back through. 6 checkout. Oh, okay. Okay, so this is not issue. Oh, I'm looking. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I put. Okay, so this is issue 6, but this is a different issue. Wow, that's funny. Okay, so this is issue 6 in my say hello project. So this is video 004. Cypress open. Oh. Okay, see, video 346 was that. So this is going to be video 348. So I guess yesterday I had just completed, but I hadn't done the commit. Issue 6. Oh, wow. Right, decided to get down on the lower area. She's feeling feisty today. And then we implemented logging debounce. This is just bizarre. Should be log. Yeah, this is the logging sequence debounced, and I still did not stage everything. So let's go ahead and stage that, and then let's commit that. There we go, and let's go ahead and push that. Make sure we're in the right branch. Git push. Let's go ahead and go over to GitHub, merge that. And every place you work, this whole process will be a little bit different. And you probably won't be responsible for all aspects of this process. And because I'm assuming the vast majority of people have the desire to, at some point, earn a living coding. Um, so that's kind of why I bring that up a lot. And it's kind of useful to see what the whole process is, even with that. So it is interesting. So this is 95.5% TypeScript, 2.8% HTML, and 1.7% SCSS. So that is always interesting to sort of contemplate. Basically here we can see all the code that we are getting ready to merge in. So we'll create the pull request. Let me assign that to myself. I don't know why I do that. Use closing keywords in the description to automatically close issues. Interesting. I would have maybe this is what automatically closes the issues, because I don't know. I feel like it always closes the issue that I made the branch for. Okay, so we have no. So we're going to merge that, and then we're going to confirm it. That will, I guess. Yeah. Oh, it's interesting. Um, so now we are going to go back to our issues, and we should only have 3 issues now. Yep, we only have 3 issues, even though this says 4 up here. It's a bug. GitHub, you folks, I got a bug that is not updating. Not a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal, but I bet you there's going to be a meeting where someone flips out. This can't be out. We lose all credibility. The baby could be blind. What about the children? All right. So, anyways, we got 3 things. Okay, so this one is going to be the hardest one. It's number 7. Number 9 is prevent extra animations from being created. And this is debounce the redraw. I kind of want to do this one next, because this one will be like, this one, when we get this fixed, we'll fix end-to-end test. And then once that end-to-end test goes, then whenever we have like a really simple fix, like these dictionaries and stuff like that, which we do have more of those to do, um, we we can just run the end-to-end tests without having to open it and step through them, because they should all just pass, and we'll know something went wrong if that fails. So I think I'm going to do this one next, and we just did the debounce, and so it'll be easy to remember that stuff and all that. So I think this is a good idea. Made a good idea, guys and gals. Unfortunately, so I mean, YouTube used to show me like sort of the percentages of males and females that watched, and it was like literally for a long, long time, like for years, it was like 100% males. Period. No girl ever looked at it. Then it was saying 100% males, but every once in a while, like a girl would actually comment on one of my videos. So I was like, I don't think it's 100% guys. Um, So I don't think it's actually 100% guys, but it's pretty mostly guys. But now they don't show it anymore, and I'm sure it's because it doesn't fit in with their how their worldview. You know, they want to see the world in a certain way. Uh, when the world doesn't work the way you want it to work, a lot of times you just change the data that you pay attention to. Which, you know, one place where that doesn't work is on your gas gauge in your car. If your gas gauge says empty and you decide to start ignoring your gas gauge, you're gonna have some bad outcomes. But anyways, and I don't know why. I don't know why guys seem to like coding more than girls. Um, it just it, I know that like in JavaScript and in like scripting in general, like girls were absolutely dominant when I like in 1996 when I first started getting introduced to scripting. So I used to always code like in Visual Basic or in Basic, which I guess Basic is kind of a scripting language, but kind of not. Um, but like every person that I knew that did scripting coding was mostly around like WordPerfect or some kind of something like that. And it was almost all girls. So and girls seemed to like it, and guys did not seem to like it. You know, I remember uh, this girl that was she was like in I guess what you would consider like a secretarial pool or something. Her name, I believe her name was Amy, and she was the one who introduced me to JavaScript, and she was a and I was an engineer, and she was at Boeing, and she was like in the secretarial pool, and I remember her going, "Ah, you write this document just like an engineer writes it," and basically I hadn't. She was really into creating a bunch of scripts that would make sure that everything fit together and that everything met like government requirements, whereas I was manually trying to do it. And I remember the most of the engineers were guys, and most of the all of the secretarial pool were girls, and they were very steeped in coding, and the engineers were not nearly as steeped in coding. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of the engineers never wrote any code at all. So, so it is not coding is not naturally like a male orientated thing, but for some reason males tend to just really dominate it for some reason, and it doesn't quite make sense to me. I think it might just be just because guys just tend to be more extreme in nature. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this. Um, Control V, and so now we're checking out this. And basically, what we want to do, I'm just going to do a bit of analysis. So if I add this thing right here, the problemo is that I'm just going to be so glad to have this one done when this is squared away. So right now you see that everything is right? It says the aspect ratio should be 1.51. The calculated aspect is 1.51. The actual aspect ratio is 1.51. But if I do this, sort of resize this thing, go real fast, then um, you'll see that our aspect ratio should be 1.97, but it's actually 1.95. And that's because this is throttled, right? If I didn't throttle this, then when we did this, like everything would probably just get really laggy and weird. Um, but since it's throttling and it's only like allowing like I believe it's 60 changes per second or something like that. Um, the Since it's doing that, it is not getting all janky. I think is what it's called, like where it like everything just starts not working, like it overwhelms your computer because it's because if you don't throttle it, what'll happen is you'll end up with the computer's trying to redraw faster than um, even your eye can perceive, and it's trying to do a bunch of calculations. Because I believe, like if you were to time how fast like this event comes into the application or gets called, it's probably in my personal experience usually around 200 to 300 times per second, whereas the screen is totally optimized to update 60 times a second. So that's like 5 times faster than sort of the optimization is set up for. Um, so it can just really, really cause things to get really weird. Um, so that is why that's throttled. But the problem is that let's say this is updating 200 times per second, and let's say I'm throttling it for 60 times per second, then it's very, very likely and that's what we're seeing here is that what's very likely to happen is that I the 60th second that is throttled will get fired, and then more things will happen afterwards. But then you stop before the next 60th second happens. 60th of a second happens. So then you end up with things being slightly out of sync. But it is super, super obvious when we run the end-to-end test. So if I type in npm run Cypress open, um, when we run, there's a resize one that does resizing and tests resizing, and the Cypress moves so much faster than I can move. And so when it does the resizing, what happens is it actually is very, very obvious that the aspect ratio is off. And so the aspect ratio is actually like the width and the height. And ThreeJS wants you to tell it what aspect ratio you want to show. And I don't really know why that is, like why they don't just automatically draw things to the aspect ratio of the container that it's in, because they definitely know that. For some reason, they let you actually change the aspect ratio to be something different. But then the thing is they don't automatically change it when you resize it. So like, see, there's just concepts that exist differently in two different places. In ThreeJS, there is no concept of resizing. Uh, like I would imagine when ThreeJS, whatever the basic foundational core of ThreeJS was, it was probably around like being on like a TV or like a something with a fixed size. And so I don't think they ever really contemplated the concept that hey, things are going to be resizing, but they do allow you to change it. And so that's the only reason like that this doesn't look weird when I resize is because I'm changing it as the resizes happen. So, just to kind of circle back to the original sort of blame, now that I've kind of set a better foundation of what I was saying is since I'm updating the aspect ratio as things resize, I don't want to calculate that aspect ratio more than 60 times a second because then things will just get janky. Everything will just start not working right. Now, the precise reasons why that happens is I don't really know, but it does happen. I know that it happens. So what because that happens and because it goes too much, I have to throttle it. But because I'm throttling it, it doesn't necessarily calculate the last time it happened. So when we click this resize here, this test resizing, and it exposed. I didn't even know that I had this bug. I only knew I have this bug because this end-to-end test exploited it. And the thing was at the time I just didn't have the energy. I was like down rabbit holes, and I just didn't have the energy to sort of see it through. Um, so then something that's fairly new is I started creating um, issues in GitHub, and that is really nice because then you don't forget to do things because it's an issue. Once you've documented it in the into that it into GitHub, then you can be sure that. Now I will say that in most places they go crazy and they start making issues, and then they end up creating like all they end up creating multiple issues with the we're about to see. So as you can see, like because it was able to move so much faster, it still has an aspect ratio of 3. So it thinks that this the area that it's being displayed in is 3 times wider than it is tall, but it's only 1.25 times wider, 1.2425 times wider than it is tall. So, um, so it's not showing properly. Um, so, anyways, what I needed to do is once everything is finished, to run whatever it is, and I don't even know what it is, to run whatever it is, whatever code it is that updates the aspect ratio one last time after everything has settled down. And that is what the very definition of what debouncing is. So, anyways, we've we closed out. I believe it was issue 6, and now we are going to start issue 10. So that is that. And tomorrow morning will be Monday. Monday after having 4 days off on a row. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll have that like if I've kind of gotten used to getting up later. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do one in the morning. I hope I can, and if I can, we will start on this thing, which is kind of cool because we've already implemented a do bounce scheme, and then we got to see if we can fit that into the architecture. Oh, nope, I screwed up. That's right. Darn it. Darn it, darn it, darn it. I don't think I ran unit tests yesterday against issue 6. Ugh. See, now I got a real mess. We got a real mess. Okay, let's see what we did. Because I don't think we have 100% test coverage. Dang it. Dang it, dang it, dang it, dang it. And these are kind of mistakes that happen all the time, especially as you start to try to change your process. Um, you will start to make mistakes like this. So now we just have to cross our fingers because now we got a branch that's kind of screwy. I don't even have a process in place for dealing with this sort of concept. Now, here's where CI/CD probably would have been really helpful because in CI/CD it would have run unit tests, and then I could have set up the CI/CD to only allow a merge when I have 100% test coverage, and then then this wouldn't have happened. So that was my mistake. Since it is very like super just me just doing this, I'll probably just do the commit in here if there's a unit test issue. And it's kind of shocking to me that I forgot this because I was thinking just like an hour ago, I was thinking about like how when you do one of the nice things about like 100% test coverage is that when your test coverage falls below 100%, it actually identifies things that are new, architecturally new, like novel concepts that have entered into your system. So like most code, you probably just like if it was just like, oh, you know what? Instead of this being a square up here, I want this to be a circle. It doesn't really change the architecture of your application. It's just like a change, but it's not like an architectural change. And it probably would not affect your unit test coverage. It might affect a unit test passing, but it probably wouldn't affect your unit test coverage. All right, so it compiled just fine, which is always a good sign. See if all the unit tests pass. It's so funny because I feel like, okay, so all the unit tests pass. I feel like, um, yeah, what I need to do is make a bug an issue for 100% test coverage. I don't know. I'm just going to do it in here. I might regret that. Yeah, see, we lost our test coverage. So that will be interesting. So that was a horrible mistake. I mean, like, I feel like it wasn't that crazy of a mistake, like nothing bad happened, but it is just like kind of like you just don't know how bad to just sort of self punish for something like that. So basically, we have it looks like 4 lines of code, 4 statements not getting called, 4 lines of code not getting called. Um, one function's not ever being. Oh, it's that cancel function. And 2 branches aren't being called. So that one is a little bit scary for me. Um, so let's go to functions. So everything looks like all my problems are in this timing. You took this new thing that we just created, this our debounce service. So actually, I guess what I should do. See, the what's such a pain about this is now I've created this branch. So if, but you know what? Like if I create another branch and I pull this in, yeah, no, actually, oh, that is hilarious because now I've found that I may end up changing the code for debounce, and I've created a function, some code that uses debounce. So if I were to change this code to accommodate this unit test passing, then what will happen is I will end up with um, a situation where I actually write code. And see, this happens all the freaking time. See, this is just blowing my mind because this is a really good example of what actually happens. This is we have just observed the actual experience that actually screws things up in most places that I work. Is I just did some code. I made a small mistake, so I'm going to modify it. But the product managers would probably be saying, oh, okay, since we have the debounce now, we can start assigning all the debounce things. So, oh, we got a dozen different things that need to bounce. Let's go ahead and create them all. And then I'm going to change. It's very likely I'm changing the debounce code so it will break everybody else working, and they probably won't even tell me that other people are working on it if they were on other teams. So if I wasn't in the stand up, that the other people, like if they had three agile teams and two of the agile teams are working on debounce stuff, and I don't know that they're working on it, and then I'm not in their stand up teams, and I'm like, oh, I forgot to run unit tests, so I'm updating it, and I found out that I needed to change something up a little bit to accommodate the unit tests. Like the product managers probably wouldn't realize, oh, by the way, all these other people who are using the bounce just got broken. Because when this gets merged in, it's likely to break their code. So, anyways, but since it's just me working, I can actually fix this as part of this. And it does, I guess it makes a little sense to fix this as part of this since this is a debounce project as well. But it looks like there's a couple things going on. One is we never call this with a delay. So with a different delay. So we'll do that. Which I could have sworn I was delaying by 100 instead of 300, but who knows. All right, so in our debounce service spec, what we need to do is call the debounce with something different than 300. So I don't know how to make sure that I don't forget to do this. We'll do this. So the it is a specification. If I mouse over, I think it leaves. I believe I tell. Yeah, specification defines a single spec. And this is Karma Jasmine. So if you are in the future, this is, gosh, it's so crazy. That looks like a 13, even though I know it's a 12. Um, if it's after 12/28/2025 and you created a new Angular application, you probably do not have Karma Jasmine. You probably have Byte. So, um, so this may or may not match up. I noticed that Byte seems to be almost exactly the same, but it should call the bounce with something other than, with something other than the default. It is weird though, because well, no, it's only complaining that it never got set. I think that's what that means. Not. And so this is like that, and then I'm gonna say I'm gonna create a function. So unc equals. Can I just do that? Void? I feel like I've seen that before. It does not like that. And then, so this is a function that doesn't do anything. I call the bounce. Oh, now I'm remembering yesterday. Service, but to bounce. Pass it function. That's that funky chicken bed. Oh, string. Okay. So our key, I guess I'll just name it unit test. And then func. And mistakes do happen. I mean, it's just sort of the nature of being a human being. 100. I believe that will cause this other thing, this little yellow thing here to go away. Doesn't seem like it actually ran the unit tests. I do think that is like, I don't know if they have like at Karma, the people who maintain Karma Jasmine, like I have no idea. Like, do they make money, or is this like just an open source thing, or is it, like, what is the deal? I don't know. Maybe it's not done. Looks like it's done. This is still. Oh, maybe it. Oh, you know what it is? It's like it never got called with the default. That. And now the message here is completely wrong. Well, something with the default time. So yeah, I was reading that completely backwards. Yeah, so it was upset that I always have provided a delay. All right. And so basically right afterwards we want to cancel it. Cancel. I think it's a unit test, right? Like you just tell it the key that you want to cancel. So like one thing you really would have to watch out for from an implementation perspective is that you don't just copy and paste the key. I could totally see that too. Like a lot of times when you're coding, like every single time when you code, right? So like let's just quit deluding ourselves. When you code, you don't understand everything that's happening. That's just a freaking reality. So every time. So this time it did not seem to pick up that I made a change. I don't know. It's weird. Like why? Why did it not pick up that I made a change that time? But anyways, like I was saying, every single time you code, there's no way you understand everything that's happening. Oh, now we're at 100%. So I could totally see like a human being saying, "Oh, okay, how do you debounce something?" Okay, and using the same key. And then if they cancel, or if you cancel, you could cancel theirs, or you could prevent their debounce, right? Like, so you have something you're debouncing, and they have something they're debouncing, and then you cancel, or you overwrite their debounce, and yeah. So like having a unique key is probably it's very likely that someone's gonna screw that up. But now we have 100% test coverage. I guess we'll just leave that as is, um, to be part of. I think we should create a commit. So I'm gonna close this. Git commit. I think we have nothing to add but these unit tests, and I think the unit tests are good. So this is, I mean, technically we're doing more than this and this. I don't care. I really am mostly worried about just keeping 100% coverage. Um, I'm not really using the unit tests. I haven't one time used the unit test for documentation purposes so that I can understand what the application does. I have worked in places where like the first thing you should always do is go look at the unit tests because the unit tests are the best documentation of the application in that place. I've worked at other places where unit tests were absolutely confusing and meaningless, and literally the only thing they do is approve. Like they're purely a contractual artifact, something that is done just to accomplish the terms of the contract. So, anyways, add. I think it's the same video, right? Instead of super, it's gonna say unit test, test, and this is technically issue 6. That in parentheses. Who knows if that will make sense to me in the future, but and implemented unit tests. I'm just gonna have faith that we have the, and I don't want to push this, that we have the unit tests or that the end-to-end tests pass. But we're definitely going to be checking end-to-end tests as part of uh, resizing. So anyway, so tomorrow that's what I'm going to start working on is, and the first step of that is going to be just to try to figure out, okay, how is this aspect ratio being accomplished? So when you pick up a new story, even if you wrote the story, even if you still have to go through sort of a detailed analysis of the actual code to figure out how things work now, so you don't end up botching things. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.